welcome back to the Colour Cave, where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem, and today I have a very late Scrawlrbox. There has been ongoing issues in the UK with getting things in and out of the country because of our situation of leaving the EU, but it has arrived, it's here. They did tell us what was going on, so let's just get straight into it. Scrawlrbox is the UK's only monthly art subscription box. Obviously they have been sourcing some of their products from outside of the UK. So there are a selection of goodies sent to you every month if you pay them a little bit of money every month, and we have some usual suspects. There's usually a sticker, a sweet, and the Scrawler Zine, which has some information. It's like a little mini magazine, and there's also a card with a list of supplies on it, and they give you an art prompt every month, and you're supposed to create something that fits the prompt with the contents of the box. Oh, I love it when everything's all packaged together like this. So here is our Scrawler Zine, and we'll look at that in a little bit. Oh, this looks like markers. Oh, looks like markers. Okay, so this is our featured artist, and this is it's like a Paisley design. The colours are quite nice. So this is Chris Lambert. I was just about to say that name's really familiar, but that's because this is Chris of Scrawlrbox. He's the guy well, he's the brainchild of Scrawlrbox. So there's lots of information there, and also links to his Instagram and his Twitter account down the bottom, so you can check out some of his other artwork. Let's see, this is the surface that we've got to draw on, and it is a Clairefontaine book. It's just a stapled sketchbook with a sort of card cover on it. The paper feels quite smooth, so I would say this is like sort of bog standard fare really. Clairefontaine are a very good brand, however. I actually quite like their papers generally, so I have a lot of faith that this paper is going to be good to use. And let's see what we have in here. Our sweet is a refresher sweet. These are great, and as the label states, it's a lemon flavour one, so it leaves your mouth feeling ooh, lovely. So I'll maybe have that later or give it to Mr. Jem because he likes that kind of thing. Oh my goodness, we have a Blackwing pencil. Now this is exciting as far as pencils go. Blackwing are a very well known brand of pencil, and they come out with limited edition ones every now and then. They're very distinctive because they have this flat eraser head, and this eraser is replaceable. There's these two little hooks, I don't know if you can see them or not, on either side, and that just pulls out. Now normally when they're new they're quite stiff, but you can see I've managed to pull that side up, and that lets you lift out that eraser. So as you start to wear it down, you can pull it further and further out until you've used the whole eraser, and you can buy replacements. So this is a Scrawlrbox edition. Blackwing pencils, I don't use them an awful lot. I find them very, very soft and very smudgy. So if you're going for that kind of effect, it's good. It'll be interesting to see what classification of lead they have put in this, but we'll look that up once we get going. And it's not been sharpened yet either. I'm also loving like the ombre effect here. See this nice gradient? I do like a gradient. That's the first time in a long time I've opened a subscription box and not gone, the pencil, it's a pencil. This is an exciting pencil. Well done, Scrawlrbox. We also have a Zig Millennium 03. This looks like a normal fine liner. I'm assuming it's black. A 03 is lovely for me. I like a teeny tiny fine liner, so that just suits me down to the ground for that. Acid-free archival quality pigment ink. Keep horizontal. And Zig is part of the Kuretake brand as well. I don't actually think I've tried one of these before, so that's quite interesting as well. Okay, oh we've got two sweets this time. Is this the sweet from last month as well? Cloetta Choco Mint Praline. Oh, I can't eat this. The praline's got nuts in it, and I'm allergic to nuts. I'll definitely be giving that one to Mr. Jem and making sure he washes his hands and his face and brushes his teeth before he comes anywhere near me. And we also have, Tombow ABT Pro. Now, these are just the same as the normal ABT twin tip markers. I don't know what the Pro means. I'm not that familiar with these. Again, just not being a medium that I use particularly. We've got three colours though. We've got this grey, and we've got a nice sort of dark blue colour, and then this lovely green. I'm right into the green. And I'm sure these have got a lovely brush nib on them. Yes. Now the brush tips on these are fabulous. They are rather nice. I have tested them out. It's just not something that I've used. And we've got a chisel nib. It's an angled chisel nib as well. I hope you can see that. Okay, so it comes into a point like this from this direction. So that's quite interesting. So that might be the difference between those and the normal ABT ones. I think the normal ABT ones, is it not just a bullet nib that's on them? That is the entirety of the box. These pens are expensive. I know that they're expensive. There's been a lot of anticipation, see, because this box has been late as well. And to be honest, I can't say I feel particularly overwhelmed by this. And again, the sketchbook element, it's just not very exciting. But these are good quality supplies, apart from the Zig situation, because I've never tried that. Blackwing pencils are really expensive as well. So I don't think that we're not getting our money's worth, if that makes sense. But I just feel that it doesn't inspire me very much. I don't feel as if I'm bursting with creativity because of the contents of the box. But let's reserve judgment for now. I don't want to be too harsh. Let's take a look at the list of supplies. Okay, so the ABT Pro markers, quality markers, they're alcohol based. Now, okay, there we go. The other Tombow markers, they've got a black barrel, they're water based, so that's the difference. These are alcohol markers with 2 versatile tips, flexible nylon brush tip. It's just talking about them being alcohol based and the fact that you can blend them without water because they're alcohol based, but every alcohol based marker does that. Okay, the Blackwing Scrawlrbox Special Edition pencil. That's quite exciting. It cannot be found anywhere except in this box. You're the first scrawlers to see it in person. Blackwing Square Ferrule, that's the word I was looking for earlier. Removable and replaceable eraser. Smooth graphite balanced core, which is similar softness to 2B. So that's the kind of middle of the road pencil. That if you're interested in fancy pencils, it's well worth looking up Blackwing pencils because there's loads of special edition ones and they're all really nice. They do mention the fact that it comes in a stunning teal gradient. I love it. The Kuretake Millennium Black Fine Liner. Ideal for all your fine liner needs, good to know. Permanent acid-free pigmented ink is of archival quality and it's also water-based, light, fast, waterproof. So we'll have to wait till it's very, very dry for the waterproofiness. Acid-free, they've said that already. Non-bleeding, photo-safe and odourless. Attractive, reliable fine liner, a wide silver barrel. Okay, the Clairefontaine A5 comic book, so this is this. 12 sheets of premium acid-free, exceptionally smooth and high-quality paper, offering a delightfully luxurious writing, colouring and sketching experience. You can use both sides of these paper sheets as they will not bleed through, making this sketchbook perfect pairing with alcohol-based markers. Fill it with doodles. And the Scrawler Challenge prompt is Paisley patterns. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Right, okay, before we test out these supplies, let's take a quick look into our Scrawler Zine. And it's just telling you about the supplies which we've already looked at. Okay, so Chris, who is the head honcho for Scrawlrbox, and there's all this information about him and some of his patterns. This is nice, I like this. This is very cool. So let's have a look at the scrawler tips this month because yes, definitely not for me and I always forget to read this section. Okay, the first thing it says is when you're not using your markers, they are best stored upright and kept out of direct sunlight to ensure a long creative light. As far as I'm aware, and I've always been told, and I might be completely wrong, if you have gel tipped markers, you're supposed to store them horizontally because it stops all the pigment running to one end and drying out one of your nibs. So the fact that they're telling you to store them upright, I'm questioning that straight away. If anybody has any input on that and like to mention it in the comments, please feel free to correct me. But I've always been told to store them horizontally, and I store all my Copics horizontally as well for that reason. So that's interesting. Dark tones cannot be covered as easily with light tones, so put your light colours down first. It's talking about blending markers while they're still damp so that they blend well. So you don't want these to dry out because it will give you a smoother transition if you work with them while they're still damp on the paper. Once the ink is dry, it is permanent, so when you go over the top of it, you're not going to lift the layer underneath as well. Gentle pressure so that you don't ruin your nibs. Okay, and he's talking here about doodling because that's what this is all about apparently. So he's saying basically don't think too hard. That's easier said than done. I do have a tendency to overthink things, and I have mentioned in the past, sometimes it's quite difficult to make things look random because you're concentrating so hard on making it look random that it ends up not being random, so that's a fair point. Take references from shapes and patterns from existing Paisley designs or even better from nature. Have you tried taking a pencil for a walk across the page? So drawing with your eyes shut and then try and create a pattern out of what you've done with your eyes shut. And most importantly, to have fun. Yeah, okay, we know that. Okay, so some helpful tips there. Here is our Scrawler Gallery, and this was the Graphy Tint box, which is probably my favourite one of last year. It was the little paint set was awesome. I had such good fun, and it spawned like a whole set of drawings for me, which is really nice. And all of these are beautiful. I love looking at these. I just absolutely love looking at them on the paper, and I say that every month, but I really, really do. I really, really enjoy it. It just makes it a little bit more tangible, I think is the word. These are all lovely. I really like this one. So it's talking about the origin of the Paisley pattern, and I was just scanning down really quickly to see when they were actually going to mention Paisley. Paisley is a large town in Scotland. It's kind of close to Glasgow, and then they're just having a little proud moment about their pencil here. So first impressions, now that I've got all the information, this really isn't my kind of box. I know for a fact that the Tombow pens are really good quality. I'm not really into doing patterns either. Like, aside from the supplies, I don't enjoy patterns because they're repetitive. I'm not really much of a doodler either. But I think what we'll do for the Scrawler challenge is, I think I would like to create a cover design for this sketchbook, and then I will possibly give it away as a little prize for something, so someone can have a custom sketchbook, and that way I'm not using any of the paper inside. It will be interesting to see how the pens fare on this thicker part as well. So yeah, let's maybe do something like that. So one thing we do want to do is to demonstrate for you how these items actually fare on the paper in the book. Although we're going to decorate the outside of it, we still want to test it. So I'm just going to use a little sliver down the bottom here just to test out the supplies and see what we've got. Yeah, well, I was digging about for that sharpener there in my pencil case. This is one of the other Blackwing pencils. This is the 602, and the tagline on the back is half the pressure, twice the speed. They are very, very soft pencils, but this is the one that I use most often is this 602. You can see it's getting fairly stubby now. One thing I will say about the Blackwing pencils is I've always found the grading a bit off. You know, they say it's close to a 2B. I found that kind of varies and quite significantly sometimes, and people's opinion of what is classified as a 2B seems to vary greatly as well. So anyway, we'll try on this paper, and I don't imagine anything spectacular is going to happen because this paper's quite smooth, and if it's like a 2B, you kind of want a little bit of texture, but it'll cope fine on this kind of paper, and it certainly feels very smooth going down. I like these pencils because they feel nice. I've talked about this loads of times, but I don't like cheap feeling things. Even if it isn't a cheap item, if it feels cheap, it kind of just, I don't know, makes me not want to use it. But because you've got a little bit of weight in the ferrule as well, it makes the pencil slightly weighty, but also off balances it slightly. So that's something you might want to just pay attention to. It's not ridiculous or anything, but it's noticeable if you're used to using one that doesn't have an eraser on the end of it. And you're getting, I mean, that's getting fairly dark. Now for me, if that's a 2B, that's a pretty dark 2B. But they're so nice and smooth and silky, they're lovely. Here's a Koh-i-Noor 2B. So let's do the same thing again. And I don't know how well you can see the difference in that. Maybe if I zoom in a bit, that would help. Even in the laydown, you can see that that's a much softer pencil. And the paper's picking it up differently as well. Yeah, now that's interesting. I'm having to work really hard to get that like that, whereas I didn't with that, and you can see that's a lot darker. So that's just a point of reference for you. I don't know whether that'll interest some of you or not, but I thought I'd better point that out. Okay, let's try this little fine liner as well. Lid fits on the top, that's always a good start in my book. Yeah, okay. That's going to do its job. Quick movements don't seem to make any difference in the way that the ink's coming out. I like the nib width. Oh, this kind of nib width always suits me. Let's see what it's like if we were to colour in with it. And again, yeah, that seems to be fine. It seems to be soaking into the paper quite quickly, which is good. You don't want it to take ages to get down in there because obviously if you're wanting to start with your line work, then that's going to be, you're going to be a bit hanging about a little bit. So yeah, that seems absolutely fine. With the fine liner situation, I kind of feel the same way as I do about the pencils in the subscription box. Now it's like, how many black fine liners do you want to give us? I have an absolute rake of them, and it's not even a tool I use that often. And I'm mostly indifferent. There's a few that I really don't like, but that's few and far between. Okay, so let's look at these markers now. So I wonder if these have got, I don't think they've got colour names. I think it's just numbers. We've got P312. P528 and PN75. Okay, so no colour names, but I'm excited about the brush tip because I do like a brush tip. So let's see what we can, oh yeah. The brush tips on these are nice, and if you don't press too hard, you get some really nice delicate lines. They are a wee bit whiffy. Obviously they're alcohol markers, so they are going to have a smell, you know, coming from them. It's not overpowering though. Again, I think because they're small markers with small nibs, it's not that bad. I'm really not a fan of chisel nibs at all. They're just, you can do lots with them, but they just don't excite me. But that's a fairly sturdy nib, and the fact that it tapers to a point on either side means you can get some really interesting strokes from it. And that is not bleeding through at all, which is marvellous. Let's have a little go with the blue. Oh, that's a lovely shade of blue as well. Look at this. Okay, yeah, I like these colours. And I have to say, it looks much more attractive here than it does on the print of Chris's. It's got a bit more of a sort of teal tint to it here, whereas here it really does look blue, which is quite interesting as well. I like that a lot. The ink in that one is feathered very, very slightly. You know, it's spread on the paper. If I just hold this up, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but around this top edge here, it is very, very slight. But if you're working with a lot of precision, you know, if you're doing really, really fine details, that's something that you might just want to be aware of. Right, okay, let's have a look at the grey as well. I hope the grey is fairly substantial. Hey, yeah, it's not bad. Again, the ink flow seems to be really nice on these as well. Very agreeable, which I would expect. As I say, I know the Tombow pens are good quality pens. I don't know. Oh, I just got a really big whiff of alcohol. I don't know how I feel about the colour selection either. It's nice not to have a sort of bog standard selection, but by the same token, I don't know, see these colours, they kind of look like a Scottish sky just now. That's pretty much the only three colours that we see during the day. And this one's only when you start to come into night time. Okay, so I've just stuck down one of my Colour Cave stickers on the front. We're going to do a little bit of customisation here. So I'm just starting with the basic paisley shape, which is this teardrop with the curve on the end of it that they've talked about in the magazine. And on top of that, there's normally some sort of border or pattern both outside and inside this basic shape. So I want to leave a little space at the bottom here so that whoever ends up with this can put their name or maybe use it as a project book and give it a title, something like that. I'm thoroughly enjoying using this pencil though, it's nice. Oh, that went horribly wrong. So I still want it to have this sort of hand-drawn feel. So thinking about the centres then, I do want all of these to be different. We've got enough symmetry with the basic shape. I'm going to treat these individually and I'm just going to... This is the part where I'm going to try and not think too much and just let things do whatever it pleases. And I am rubbish at this stuff, like I just can't. I like to draw actual things. This one's starting to look like a dinosaur when that happens. Or a little dragon. Maybe we could just make him into a dragon. Am I being silly? Probably. And we could give him like a... Yeah, let's just stop that there and then we could give him like a scaly pattern. And then in here we can... See, this is the bit that I'm going to struggle with. It's all the sort of ins and outs. For some reason I want to put a light bulb in this one. So it's going to be a good old-fashioned bayonet light bulb. So normally when I'm drawing something like this, I would be giving quite a lot of thought to colour placement, you know, as I'm sketching, thinking, well, if I've only got these three colours plus a fine liner, you know, this colour would go here and this colour would go here. I'm not doing that, and I'm doing that deliberately because this is supposed to be a doodle in inverted commas. I do want to try and give myself that sort of freedom just to see where this goes. I kind of want to try and fit a palm tree in here somewhere as well. I don't really know how I'm going to do that either. Now, the one thing I am experiencing, which I have found with the Palominos, the leads are quite soft in them regardless of which grade you have, and I've lost the point on my pencil already, and you can tell just from the sketch lines to what I'm doing now, they're getting darker and darker and I'm not actually pressing that much harder. Oh yeah, look, maybe we could have a big sploosh, which is actually more little paisley patterns. Oh yeah. So the other pondering that I'm having in my little brain while I'm doing this is, in the Scrawler Zine they made quite a big show about the fact that us scrawlers were the first people to see this pencil design. So it makes me wonder if Palomino are going to bring a box of these out as a limited edition, you know, at a later stage. I would be quite curious to find that information out. Okay, I'm just turning this round so I don't smudge this. As I say, these lids are quite soft, so I don't want to be doing any of that. And this one looks, I'm kind of struggling with this. This one looks like you should be a wee ghost. I've unintentionally made him a vicious wee ghost. I'm pretty sure there's probably some of these in a video game somewhere. I've just realised as well that yet again I don't have a Scrawlrbox sticker. That's 2 months running. I haven't had a sticker in my box. Maybe they just don't want to send me one. I don't know. Anyway. Okay, so that is us. We are all outlined now, and I just have to decide what colours are going where. I do think the easiest thing to start with is any areas that I want in black. So I've got my little serpent dude up here, so I figured he's going to have a black eye. A black eye, not that kind of black eye. But we'll just fill that in. And the same with our little whale friend down here too. Oh, he's cute. He's such a happy little fellow. So I don't really have a logic pattern to this, but what I do want to do is try this grey out and see what it is going to look like. And I'm going to try it on our whale friend here. And that's actually showing up really well. And this brush nib is just perfect. It really is, it's just perfect. I probably won't use the chisel tip at any point, if I'm truthful. The design that I've got here, it is quite intricate in places, and I don't think the chisel nib's going to allow me perhaps what I'd want to do. The other thing to note as well, that this isn't drying at all streaky on this paper either. The other immediate thought I'm having is that I am going to use the addition of a white gel pen when I'm finished as well, because that'll pop out quite nice on this paper, just to add a few highlights and bits and bobs in. I have to say that I'm quite enjoying the colour scheme situation here. It is pretty cool. But I'm just picking and choosing. I don't feel like I have to colour absolutely everything in. I just feel like picking out a few bits and bobs here and there gives the colours a bit more impact. Now normally in this situation as well, if I had a limited colour palette of just 3 like this, I would utilise my graphite pencil as an extra colour in inverted commas, but because one of our markers is grey, I'm not going to do that. Plus as well, if I was using that for this purpose, I would have to spray it with fixative as well to stop the graphite coming off, because obviously this is an item that you would hope would be used. The one thing I do like about this prompt is there really isn't any right or wrong way to do this. You know, there's nothing really to say that you can or can't do something, and I think that's quite cool. And I can see why something like this could be relaxing as an art form. Personally, I would rather that someone else drew the doodles and I just coloured them in. And certainly these alcohol pens are not having any effect on the fine liner. So the fine liner seems fairly sturdy. And it was quite nice to use as well. This is one of those times as well where I'm really hopeful that my hand behaves itself and I don't randomly drop a marker, because it would kind of ruin everything. And it has been known. It has been known. So let's just remain hopeful. It feels kind of strange having an alcohol marker in such a small format. Usually, you know, I'm used to alcohol markers being big chunky affairs. And I think I'll employ this alternative pattern, you know, alternating pattern up here like I did down here, just so it kind of ties in a little bit. I was actually expecting more feathering from the alcohol ink on this cover, because you know, it's not, well, I assume it's not meant to be used in the same way as the paper inside, but it's actually behaving itself really well, and it's confining itself pretty well in between the lines too. So I think if I was an alcohol marker person, you know, if I used them more than I do, and I use them occasionally, but I think if I was, I think I would quite fancy myself a wee set of these, especially because you can get a lot more detail. You know, this tip on the brush nib is quite fine. I'm also surprised at how quickly I'm able to work my way around as well. I had visions of this taking an absolute age, but I'm fairly chuntering on here, and it seems to be going fairly smoothly. So, and again, this isn't really the sort of activity that lends itself to blending very much either. I suppose I could have done a blend on my little whale here, but it's just not really that sort of drawing, I don't think, which is a shame. Maybe we'll test that out afterwards. I kind of shortchanged you on the review side of it with that, so we'll maybe look at that after we've finished here. Okay, I've got this one up here, and I think I'm just going to go for the alternating stripy stripes effect. Alright, so what I want to do now is just take back to my black fine liner here, and there's certain sections that I am going to make black, and one of them is these dots here. And my kind of theory behind this is that it'll tie in with the sticker a bit better. So now I feel like we're kind of out of balance with the black because we've got quite a lot of black up the top now, and we really don't have an awful lot going on down here. So I think what I'll do is these stripes in here, they do look a bit like pyjama stripes, and that's not the first time I've done that accidentally. So let's make these sections black as well. Does anybody remember Herman the Hermit Crab with his pyjama shell? Right back there again. It's almost the same colour as well. That's funny. Okay, I'm just going to grab a white gel pen. Yeah, see, that's just popping out a little bit. That's kind of what I was hoping for. So again, the same thing, just make sure my distribution is even. I hadn't quite decided what was going on over here, so now that I'm happy with the white, I know I can go in and do all sorts of things. I do think at this stage though, just sitting here doing this, the addition of a white pen of some description would just have given that extra dimension to what was going on, because you can use white pens over the top of your alcohol markers. You normally have to do them in a couple of layers because the gel does soak up the pigment in the alcohol, but if you do a layer, you leave it to dry, you can go over it a couple of times and you'll end up with a nice white finish on it. And that might have just been enough to give this, I don't know, maybe just a little bit more oomph. But in saying that, I'm probably biased because I am working on the cover and I'm not working on the white paper inside. So take from that what you will, but that's just a wee thought I had there, just popped into my head. Make that pop out a bit more in his belly as well. That's probably about the most un-Paisley pattern I've ever seen. I suppose I've just sort of taken it in a slightly more odd direction than one would expect, but hey, what can you do? Okay, so just a quick blend test. This is the Winsor & Newton Pro marker paper. This is what I use as like my practice marker paper. It's very, very thin. It's only 75 GSM, but it is incredibly bleed proof and incredibly smooth as well. So I just want to have a little go at trying to blend some of these markers. So I always prepare in advance. I always take the lids off of the two colours that I'm going to use, just so that I can jump between them. So you want this to be quite wet on the paper. Now this will depend on the paper, how long they'll stay damp for, but you just want to be working your way in on top of each other. Now that's not going down particularly well, and it's not blending out all that well either. Okay, let's try with the blue and the green. I'm kind of having to work that really hard and it's not doing much. It's not doing much at all. The blue seems to want to go into the green, but the green just doesn't want to. Yeah, I'm not really convinced about the blending capabilities of these. That's not bad. Again, you know, I always never ever say that I'm an expert with markers, but yeah, that's pretty saturated. And you're getting a bit of a gradient, but it's not fabulous. I think I get on better with my Copics. Anyway, that was quite an interesting wee test just to finish things off. So on the whole, despite this not really being my thing, which I've already said and I won't labour the point, I do think that these pens are very high quality, and for a smaller alcohol marker they're perfect. I'm wondering about the recommended retail price of these. I imagine they'll be quite pricey, number one being alcohol markers, but I know that the water-based ones are quite expensive as well. Recommended retail price is £4.50 each. So yeah, they are quite expensive. It doesn't say anything about them being refillable either, which would be a thing for me, especially with alcohol markers because they're expensive. But that aside, despite the fact I wasn't overly inspired by, number one, the combination of the supplies and the prompt, because I don't really like patterns, I actually had a surprising amount of fun. And okay, I know I've kind of like gone a bit left with this, but I think for me to get enjoyment out of the box, this has absolutely done it for me. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to keep this and I will give it away at the Cave birthday, which is the middle of March. That might be a nice wee custom giveaway gift for someone. So all in all, I've actually quite enjoyed myself. I'm kind of having some feelings about Scrawlrbox just now. I felt that they really upped their game last year, and there was a lot of changes that were very positive. Now I know this has a lot to do with the UK leaving the EU, you know, the box being late, that kind of thing, but there's been a few like silly niggly inconsistencies, like the sweet missing, that's 2 stickers in a row I've been missing now, you know, that kind of thing. And I just feel at this stage Scrawlrbox should have a better grip on things. If they were planned well enough in advance, then they probably wouldn't have had a supply problem. That's just my personal thoughts, and I just feel like they've dropped the ball a little bit. In saying that, the box is definitely worth waiting for, especially because we've got this pencil, which I absolutely love. And I'm going to kind of be in that position where I want to use it and I don't want to use it because it's the only one. And as I say, it's really soft, so it'll sharpen down really quickly. I might just have to sit it up somewhere and make it look pretty. Anyway, I would love to know your thoughts on this box, on the supplies, and also if you have any ideas on what you're going to do for your Scrawler challenge as well. I certainly didn't expect to be doodling on the cover of a sketchbook today, but that's half the fun. So all that remains is for me to thank you very much for watching. As always, I appreciate the support and for kicking about right till the end. And we shall see you back in the cave on Sunday for another video. So have a good day everyone, stay safe and bye for now.